All right, good evening, everyone. Let's go ahead and kick this off. Welcome to the May 6th Zoning Committee work session. We're meeting this evening in room 267 at the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Government Center. My name is Andrew Blumenthal. It is my pleasure to serve as the chairman of the Zoning Committee. This meeting is being streamed online via the Planning Department's YouTube page in accordance with all applicable meeting statutes. Requirements for notice, access, and minutes are being met by electronic means as well. A few quick orders of business. Please keep your mic muted when not speaking and state your name when making a motion or a second. The public hearings for these petitions that we are discussing this evening have been held at a previous date in front of the Charlotte City Council and the Zoning Committee. As an important reminder, this meeting does not serve as a continuation of those hearings. Therefore, there will be no public input unless the committee has a specific question, in which case we will suspend the session and ask the petitioner directly. We'll get started with introductions, starting with Commissioner Seeley to my right.
Clayton Seeley, Planning Commission.
Robin Stewart, Planning Commission.
Rick Winiker, Planning Commission.
Erin Shaw, Planning Commission.
Teresa McDonald, Planning Commission.
And then with staff, please, and Raquel, I guess we'll just keep going on down.
Raquel Jones, planning staff.
Max Oliver, Planning Staff.
Mike Russell, Planning Staff.
Stuart Valzonis, Planning Staff.
Joe Mangum, Planning Staff.
Holly Kramer, planning staff.
Emma Knarr-Haas, Planning Staff.
Thank you. And I believe we have a few staff members online as well. If you wouldn't mind, please introducing yourself.
Jay Carpenter, CDOT.
Natalie King, CDOT.
Travis Miller, CDOT.
Isaiah Washington, CDOT.
Chris Mano, CDOT.
Drew Ritter, CDOT.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Holly, I believe we do have one deferral this evening, correct?
Yes, item number 3, petition 2024-124 by Aviation Metals of North Carolina Incorporated is requesting a deferral to the June 3rd work session.
Thank you very much. Could I please have a motion?
Winiker moved to defer item number 3, 2024-124 to the next session.
Shaw, second.
Motion by Winiker, second by Shaw. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you very much. We will get started with rezoning petition 2023-074 by C Investments 2 LLC with Max, please.
Petition 2023-074 is an undeveloped site, approximately 26 acres, located on the east side of Providence Road between Country Lane and Kuykendall Road, about a mile north of I-45. The site is currently zoned N1A, Neighborhood 1. The proposed zoning is N2A CD, Neighborhood 2, and N1A CD, Neighborhood 1 conditional. The 2040 policy map recommends the Neighborhood 1 place type. The proposed N2A CD zoning is inconsistent, and the proposed N1A CD zoning is consistent with the policy map. Approval of this petition would revise the policy map to the Neighborhood 2 place type on a portion of the site. The proposal calls for 2 non-contiguous development areas. Development area A is approximately 14 acres. Proposed zoning is N2A CD and proposes 213 multifamily attached dwelling units, up to 39 buildings with a max of 6 units per building, with no more than 15 buildings being 6 units. Development area B is 12 acres. Proposed zoning is N1A CD and up to 55 single-family detached dwellings. Development Area A proposes the following site and building design standards. Shall construct a 12-foot multi-use path and 8-foot planting strip along the site's frontage of Providence Road, an 8-foot sidewalk and 8-foot planting strip along the site's frontage with Country Lane and Kuykendall Road. Direct sidewalk connections can be provided from units adjacent to public or network required private streets. Structures will be a maximum of 48 feet in height. Maximum height is limited to 45 feet for buildings along the eastern boundary of Development Area A abutting Neighborhood 1 place type and zoning. Building materials will be comprised of a combination of at least 2 of the following: brick brick veneer, stone, or synthetic equivalent at cementitious fiberboard. Vinyl is prohibited as a primary building material. Pitched roofs, if provided, will be a minimum of 512. Usable porches and stoops will be provided and will be a minimum of 4 feet in depth. Corner units facing public streets will have wraparound porches, stoops, and limit blank wall expanses on corner facing facades to no more than 10 feet. All units will include a 2-car garage. A minimum of 60 parking spaces, including off-street visitor spaces and on-street parallel spaces on the new public streets, will be provided. Garage doors visible from public streets will include architectural treatments such as windows. Street trees will be provided abutting alleyways where planting strips are provided at a maximum spacing of 40 feet. A minimum 20-foot side setback containing a 10-foot Class C landscape yard will be provided along the eastern boundary of Development Area A, abutting the Neighborhood 1 place type and zoning. Open spaces will be amenitized and a minimum of 30 feet in all directions, and includes enhanced planting and hardscape materials. Development Area B proposes up to 55 single-family detached units. Development of duplexes, triplexes, quadruplexes, or multifamily dwellings are prohibited. Following transportation improvements are proposed. An ADA compliant bus stop will be constructed on Providence Road near the intersection of Kuykendall Road. Bicycle facilities will be constructed on Kuykendall Road. 2 new public streets with on-street parking will be constructed in Development Area A. Following intersection improvements are proposed. At Providence Road and Kuykendall Road, a northbound right turn lane with 100 feet of storage will be constructed. At Providence Road and Country Lane, a westbound left turn lane with 100 feet of storage will be built on Country Lane. Protected left turn phasing will be implemented. A northern crosswalk across Providence Road, upgraded curb ramps on all corners, and pedestrian signals will be added. Proposed new public street will be right in, right out on Providence Road, and a northbound right turn lane with 100 feet of storage will be constructed. There have been several changes since public hearing, including a reduction in multifamily attached units from 220 to 213, a reduction in the maximum number of 6-unit buildings from 20 down to 15, a commitment to a combination of at least 2 primary building materials, an increase in the number of shared parking spaces to 60, including both off-street and on-street, and a commitment to open space amenitization. Staff does not recommend approval of this petition in its current form, as enhanced care should be taken to thoughtfully lay out, design, and amenitize open space areas to match the character of the surrounding area. Additional open space should be provided throughout the Development Area A and allow dwellings direct access to open space amenities. The number of 6-unit buildings on the site should be reduced. Duplexes, triplexes, and quadruplex buildings should make up a larger proportion of the buildings. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Max. One quick point of order. Commissioner Neal, would you mind just introducing yourself, please, so no one yells at me?
Yes, Shauna Neely, Planning Commission.
All right, thank you. We have a full contingent now. Again, Max, thank you. Lot to digest, questions, comments around this one. Commissioner Shaw.
Sorry, Max, could you just go a little more slowly through the main points as to staff's inability to recommend the petition?
So the primary driving factors about not recommending approval in current form at this time is the amount and layout of open space. Many of the buildings currently do not have direct access to those open space amenities. So we thought they should be more thoughtfully laid out, and it's just overall a bit tight at some certain spots when you have a lot of fronts to backs of buildings without any sort of yards in between. And then also just kind of reducing the scale of those buildings, such as the 6-unit buildings, having fewer of them, including a certain proportion of duplex, triplex, and quadruplex to better match the character of Neighborhood 1, as those types of units are allowed in Neighborhood 1 districts.
Gotcha. And is your recommendation based on comparisons to other conditional sites applying for the same zone? Like, are you looking at the, I don't mean to call it any specific other site, but just, are you looking at this compared to other sites that you have been able to recommend approval of and sort of seeing differences in the things you outlined? Is that?
Yeah, many of the things we're asking for here is things we asked for on other petitions, especially when the policy map recommends neighborhood 1 versus neighborhood 2.
Got it.
We really like to have them better match the character of neighborhood 1, kind
Got
of
it.
what would be permitted in that, just in a different kind of form factor where you don't have necessarily individual lots.
Got it.
Um,
Okay.
But we try to incorporate that character and then transition smoothly to the surrounding neighborhood 1.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Emma, or maybe Holly, there was a new site plan iteration that was circulated yesterday. Is that something, it will be, I know I had a chance to look at it. Is that something that we have a copy of and could put on the screen to share?
So we don't have a copy of it on the screen because it hasn't been formally submitted.
Got it.
It's
Okay.
not what we're considering tonight.
Okay, understood. Commissioner Winker.
Not to reveal too much on how the sausage is made, but is there a sense on whether, I had heard that there was a potential draft revised site plan, and I'm imagining that the petitioner is still working with the city on this. Is that right?
Yes,
There's
we've been-
still discussions.
We've been in communication with both the petitioner and the community since public hearing.
I would suggest that we make a motion to defer so that way they can get it resolved and we have a clean slate, and that when it goes to city council, they have the full recommended proposal between the city, between the city staff and the developer.
Just one question about that I think may have been mentioned in the public hearing or may have been mentioned in an email I received. There seemed to be a time constraint based on like a 2-year, I guess what I'm asking is if we defer this for a month, are there other ramifications that we're maybe not real? And I'm not saying we have to consider that, but I would just like to know it before we make a call.
So there is a 2-year limit to the length of time a petition can be active. The limit, since there is no July zoning meeting, city council, that would be the deadline. So the deadline has been moved back to June. So if
If we heard this on June 3rd, though.
you heard this
We
on
could
June
still go
3rd, city
for
council
decision
could still decide in June.
Okay.
That's correct.
My question then, if we're concerned about deferral, what if we deny it? What are the implications there? Same thing?
If we deny, my understanding is they would then make a decision on whether they want to move forward to the to the decision with a zoning committee denial and whatever the petitioner is able to work out with staff between now and that date. That doesn't necessarily stop it. Right. But it would just be a denial from zoning committee going towards the decision date.
And if they defer, they would come back to zoning committee and presumably in June.
That's right. Any other questions around this?
Just curious, in terms of the delay, it's just been the petitioner trying to get their petition together to meet the city standards, and it's taken them a long time to meet the city standards, right?
So initially, there was a considerably different plan that had a multifamily stacked, affordable component to it, and they've since pivoted to a townhome development, and that was several of the earlier iterations. This petition, in the current form, we've been working with them on it since the beginning of the year.
I believe this is the 8th revision.
I believe that's what it's titled. I believe overall I think there's about 10 revisions in the past 2, but it's been 2 years since it was originally, more than 2 years actually, since it was originally submitted.
Any other feedback on this, you guys?
Yeah, I just have quick feedback. Went to Charlotte Latin, know this, and Eagle Rock. I know this space really, really well. And I honestly have no opposition to it after being part of this process. I first met with the neighbors about 2 years ago and saw a completely different product. And I think that from what I understand, it feels like the petitioner has done a lot here to push this forward. So, landscape buffers aside and open space, I mean, it would definitely be great to see a little bit more open space and maybe the reduction of some more of the buildings to be a little smaller. But I mean, I'm pretty comfortable with this project personally.
Thank you, Commissioner Seeley. Just a few quick things, and then I'll have a suggestion on how to proceed here. It is unfortunate that the latest site plan is not what we're considering this evening, as I think that there were many may be the wrong word. There were several updates that were significant steps in the right direction. In my conversations, both with the petitioner and otherwise, on this site plan, it seems like the open space in aggregate is something that we can all get behind. However, it was very piecemeal. And there have been some efforts made to consolidate that I think are significant steps in the right direction. To Commissioner Seeley's point, I personally have no issue with unit count. And I actually, in looking at it, am pretty satisfied with access as well, signalized intersections. I think that there's no real concern there on my end whatsoever. I guess the discussion we have, to Commissioner Winokur's point, is do we think that in 30 days, this is going to be refined to something that we can be much more supportive of, or frankly, have more information around, right? So I would suggest a motion to defer, if that's what the kind of the consensus is around the table. I personally, like Commissioner Seeley, am in a place to approve this evening, obviously with a comment around working with staff on changes. However, I'm one of 7. So Commissioner Whitaker, if you'd like to make a motion to defer, we'll.
Whitaker, move to defer item number, this is item number 1, right?
2023.
Yeah, 2023-074, to defer to the next session of the zoning committee.
Neely, second.
Okay, we have a motion to defer by Commissioner Winokur, second by Seeley. Sorry, Neely. It's been one of those days, guys. All in favor? We have Shaw, Stewart, Winokur, Neely, all against. We have McDonald, Seeley, and Blumenthal. So that motion to defer passes 4-3. Only opposition is that I think I speak for Commissioners McDonald and Seeley as well. We're in a place to approve this evening. See you guys next month. All right, moving on to item number 2, rezoning petition 2024-064 by J.F. Lawrence Properties LLC. With Joe, please.
Now for a petition you saw last month. This one is coming back due to a change and the they had a specific note that said a maximum building square footage of 9,500 square feet. It was not something that staff asked for. It might represent the existing buildings on the site, and they wanted to remove that note. It's a big enough change that we thought it was appropriate to bring back to zoning committee. So 2024-64 is approximately 7.6 acres located along the north side of Shopton Road, east of Seal Creek Road. It is occupied by a contractor office with outdoor storage that has been operating illegally. The current zoning is N1A. It's within the airport noise disclosure overlay. Proposed zoning is ML2CD ANDO. The 2040 policy map recommends the neighborhood 1 place type. The proposal is, and these notes are from the public hearing, so a lot of these items have changed. It would just be one zoning district, ML2CD ANDO, for the entirety of the site. No longer proposing that 9,500 square feet of non-residential uses. Building height be limited to 40 feet. The use would be limited to contractor office with outdoor storage. That's the only use permitted. Would establish the 65-foot Class A landscape yard where adjacent to CG zoning and N1A zoning, as well as a 25-foot Class B landscape yard where adjacent to I2 CD zoning. So since the last zoning committee meeting, petitioner removed the 9,500 square feet maximum building area from the plan. The site plan indicates possible building and outdoor storage area locations. Staff recommends approval. While it is inconsistent with the policy map recommendation for N1 place type, it would follow 4 similar adjacent petitions, which also rezoned N1 properties to allow for industrial uses. The rear portion of the site closest to residential uses is proposed to be preserved as tree save. The petition limits possible uses solely to contractor office with outdoor storage area. 65-foot Class A landscape yard is required where adjacent to CG and N1A zoning along the western property boundary. And the location of the site being adjacent to industrial zoning and within the airport overlay makes it less suitable for residential development as currently zoned. I'll be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Joe. Just for some context, as a reminder, we did vote to approve this, I believe unanimously last month. To confirm, Joe, the only change is removing the, let's say, the cap on building size from 9,500 to where it's open-ended. However, all of the 65-foot Class A landscape yard and other setbacks are still fully in force, right? So
That's correct.
so there's still going to be some sort of restriction on total building size on a property of this size. Any additional discussion around that?
Sorry.
Yeah, Commissioner Shaw.
One question. So the building envelope doesn't change. Just the, I guess, measurement. I'm just trying to get my hands around the difference between the building envelope and the measurement.
So the plan has shown that building envelope the entire time. There was just a conditional note that said max building square footage, 9,500 square feet. So
Got it.
I think the petitioner was, or their professional was a bit surprised when they found that note and wanted to remove that if staff and if.
So their argument is if that building measures 12,000 or 11,500 or 10,000, like that's the envelope, but the measurement won't be restricted by the note. Is that effectively?
Right. I think that the 9,500 square feet encompass the existing buildings on the site.
Got it.
And this would allow for potentially a
Potentially a
new
larger.
building altogether, tear down,
Right.
rebuild, or some combination.
Got it.
thereof.
Okay, thank you.
Not a problem. And again, that is limited exclusively to contractor office, which is kind of a broad
Right.
definition, but it is
Right.
restricted to that specifically. Any additional questions, comments? Happy to entertain a motion.
McDonald, motion to approve. Having reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement provided by staff. To approve this petition, I move that we recommend approval of petition number 2024-064 as it appears before us and the adoption of the consistency statement.
Second, Stewart.
Motion by McDonald, second by Stewart. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. That passes unanimously. With a deferral on number 3, we now move to 2024-144 by Digital Morris Chapel LLC. And Stewart, please.
Sure. 2024-144 is approximately 156 acres located south of I-85 and east of Morris Chapel Road. The site is currently vacant wooded lot surrounded by single family and some industrial uses to the south. The current zoning is I2 CD General Industrial Conditional. The proposed zoning is I2CD SPA, General Industrial Conditional Site Plan Amendment. The 2040 policy map recommends the manufacturing and logistics place type. The original rezoning was rezoning 2020-049, where the site was rezoned from an R3 single family to that I2CD general industrial conditional to allow for the development of 1.5 million square feet of warehousing and industrial uses, not to include more than 5 structures. The proposal now adds a new line in the conditions that would allow for up to 3 million square feet specifically for telecommunications and data storage facility. And then it also limited the development to 2 phases. There have been changes since the public hearing, which was just the petitioner cleaning up some of the language regarding the traffic improvement and trip generation numbers. Staff does recommend approval of this petition as it is consistent with the 2040 policy map recommendation for the manufacturing and logistics place type. The proposed changes limit the proposed gross square footage increases to only those telecommunication data center facilities. The proposed site plan will provide buffers between the industrial development and the adjacent residential neighborhoods. The proposed site plan amendment retains all the other commitments, including the traffic improvement commitments from the 2020 rezoning. The location of the site is near I-85 and Wilkinson Boulevard, as well as the Charlotte Douglas International Airport, which provides regional access, making it a desirable location for large-scale industrial development. Access to employment is the highest priority need in this area, according to the Equitable Growth Framework community reports. So we believe this could facilitate Goal 8 of our 2040 Comprehensive Plan goals, creating a diverse and resilient economic opportunity. And I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Stuart. Shout out for the community area reports being factored into rezonings. They haven't been out that long. So thank you for doing that. Clarification again, this is a site plan amendment for data center space to go from 1.5 to 3 million square feet. From my understanding, other than kind of some language around the phasing, that is the meat of this proposal, correct?
Correct. Our understanding as staff is that the petitioner, if they go through with this telecommunication and data center, would like to add a second floor. So the building height would not change. They would just add a second floor to the building, which would double the square footage of the
So the
structure.
building footprint stays the same as well.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. That's a helpful clarification. Questions, comments, concerns? Go for it.
I've heard all sorts of nightmares about how environmentally awful these are. I didn't see any aggressive notes from Louisa. I didn't see any aggressive notes. Well, Charlotte Water there was just a link to Excella, and no, I didn't see any comments from Charlotte Water. Do you know if they had comments at all?
There-
You know if there's anything in the petition documents that specify the quantity of water consumption they're going to have?
So Charlotte Water just provided their standard advisory comments about connectability and access to the site. As far as a specific build out, since we don't have a specific construction document that shows all the ins and outs, they're not going to be able to provide any of that information until permitting. From what the petitioner mentioned at the public hearing was that their design is a closed loop system. So it's supposed to be able to combat that large water pool and any contamination effects. But again, that's not written in the plan. So we don't have a concrete certification that would be what is built.
Do you think our permitting standards are robust enough to keep this from being a Trojan horse of a super nightmare for our community?
I'm not familiar enough with our water standards or with the county's LUESA standards on what they allow with data centers. Just from a zoning standpoint, there would be within their zoning district and they would be building out completely by right. So from our side, they're just kind of asking for some more square footage.
And yeah, I'll just
Yep.
add, the data centers are allowed under the current IT conditional plan. So this is just slightly modifying it and specifically calling it out as one of the uses that may occur on the site. And we have spoken to Charlotte Water just offline about data centers generally, and as Stuart alluded to, this, what they're proposing, though not specific to the, in the conditional notes, it is the type of data center that Charlotte Water wouldn't anticipate to have as nearly as big of an impact as the data centers that are not closed loop.
Yeah, and this is Dave. If you have an opportunity, you want to suspend the rules, and if the petitioner is there, and ask them if there's any ability for them to commit to a closed loop system, that could be a conditional note, potentially. But yeah, as Holly mentioned, I spoke with Charlotte Water last week about it, and if it was that type of system, then really the biggest needs are no different than what you would need just to, take care of toilets and sinks and other things that are just general daily use for the operations of the building. It wouldn't be a huge user of water if it's that kind of closed loop system. So I don't know enough about those operations. So again, if the petitioner's there and you want to ask that question of them directly and see if there's any ability for them to, have that level of commitment that doesn't then open it up in permitting for it to be something different, that's definitely under y'all's discretion. But that those types of systems for these end users are what they certainly prefer to see versus ones that aren't, which can, get up to millions of gallons a day in use, which this one wouldn't if they, did maintain that closed loop system. So
Thank you, Dave. Rick, if that would be informative for you. I
Motion,
think that other people would be interested as well.
motion to suspend the rules to ask the petitioner to explain what environmental protections they intend to use in construction of this facility to protect natural resources, including Charlotte water, sound, and other potentially negative environmental impacts a data center can bring.
Yeah, thank you. Colin Brown.
We do need to have a second real quick.
Yeah,
Sorry.
thank you, sorry.
Do we have a second?
Stewart, second.
All right, motion by Winiker, second by Stewart. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, Mr. Brown.
Zoning committee members, Colin Brown on behalf of the petitioner, Digital Realty. Digital is in the process of kind of coming up with itemized responses to some of the questions that were presented to the public hearing. In this case, frankly, one of the, Digital owns this property. They also own 50 acres to the south of this, where a data center would be permitted by right. One of the things that we think we could do that are most environmentally friendly is stay in this existing footprint. Mr. Alves from Digital stated at the public hearing that the water could be done in a closed loop system. I'd be happy to speak with them about confirming that as a conditional note. We will have a follow-up going out to City Council, kind of responding on some of those environmental issues. And I'm happy to talk with him about which ones can be rolled into conditional notes. But I did hear him say at the hearing, the water system would be closed loop. So I think we can make that a condition.
Any additional questions for Mr. Brown? One quick suggestion. Whether or not people choose to show up is up to them. I think that an email kind of addressing a lot of that could be helpful. What could potentially go a step beyond would be to almost hold like an information session with the petitioner, especially given that there are additional, well, not for the community, but for elected officials and the planning commission that may have already been suggested. If it has, my apologies. But I'm not sure, how that impacts us tonight by any means. But knowing what came up during the public hearing, what I think we can all anticipate will come back up during decision, that could be helpful to at least say we tried.
Yeah, they have provided their general ESG standards, which is kind of their national platform, which we're circulating to council. But we do have itemized responses and are hoping to have audiences with council members to share that. So
That would be, I think that would be very appropriate. Thank you, Colin. Any other questions? All right, all good. Thank you. Any other discussion around this one?
Yeah, I would say that, as you do the write-up for the zoning committee, whatever the vote comes out to be, would ask that you make a note that petitioner suggested that some additional items be included as conditional notes. and that hopefully by the time it reaches city council, that there have been some changes since this proceeding that would include those conditional notes. Thank you.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Holly and team. We can make a motion to approve with the adoption of the consistency statement as modified with that language. So you
Yes,
can-
that's my
but
understanding.
you
I mean,
can revise the consistency statement a little bit by requesting an addition of that conditional note, but still as a part of an approval motion. So I think there's a way to formalize what you were intending to accomplish here. Prior to that motion, does anybody else have any questions, comments on this petition? If not, Commissioner Winokur, I will let you take your stab at this one.
Commissioner Winokur, having reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve this petition, I move we recommend approval of petition number 2024-144. And as it appears before us, that includes the consistency statement prepared by staff and with an additional modification that the petitioner, prior to the city council hearing, add conditional notes in the site plan to include that their water supply system for the data site usage is a closed loop system, as well as other environmental conditional notes having been mentioned previously.
Have a second.
Second, McDonald.
All right, motion by Winokur, second by McDonald. Holly, I'm assuming that's something that we could package together. Perfect. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All right, that passes unanimously. Thank you very much, Commissioner Winokur, for that addition. I know that was a lot of pressure, right? Next, we have 2024-145 by David Land LLC with Michael, please.
Yes, this is 2024, 145. It's approximately 8.85 acres located along the west side of I-85, south of Quay Road and north of Ridge Road. The current zoning is neighborhood 1A. The proposed zoning is manufacturing and logistics 1, conditional. The 2040 policy map recommends the neighborhood 1 place type. The development standards accompany this petition contain the following provisions. The site may be devoted to any uses permitted by right or under prescribed conditions in the ML1 zoning district, together with any incidental or accessory uses, and that the existing outdoor advertising sign may remain on the site. So the petition is inconsistent with the policy map. However, this site is located adjacent to a large I-1 site that was rezoned by petition 2021-028 with development area 1 of 274 acres, proposing 2.7 million square feet of warehousing, warehouse distribution, logistics, office, manufacturing, and other similar uses allowed in the I-1 zoning district. So that rezoning really changed the scale and context of the land uses in sort of the broader area. And this site will add to that sort of continuation of uses. That site was also originally N1 zoned site. The site doesn't directly abut existing residential uses or share boundaries with other M1 place types. So the current M1A district is not reflective of the surrounding development, place type, or zoning district. The site does border the adjacent county, and the adjacent area is zone limited industrial, much like our manufacturing and logistics. So the site will kind of continue that land use pattern. Access to employment opportunity is one of the highest priority needs according to the Equitable Growth Framework. And this petition has the potential to increase access to employment opportunities with the introductions of jobs relating to uses permitted in the manufacturing logistics zoning district. This petition could facilitate the following comprehensive plan goals, which are diverse and resilient economic opportunity. And staff does recommend approval of this petition. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Michael. Any feedback, questions on this one? Happy to take a motion.
Shaw, motion to approve. Having reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve this petition, I move that we recommend approval of petition number 2024-145 as it appears before us and the adoption of the consistency statement as it appears before us.
Second, McDonald.
Motion by Shaw, second by McDonald. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you very much. Next, we have 2025-002 by Kelsey Miles with Emma, please.
Petition 2025-002 is approximately 0.2 acres located on the northeast side of East 36th Street and west of the Plaza and south of North Davidson Street. The current zoning is N1C, Neighborhood 1C, and the proposed zoning is NC Conditional, Neighborhood Center Conditional. The 2040 policy map recommends the Neighborhood 2 place type for this site. The proposal is to allow the adapted reuse of the existing structure on the property for medical office establishments, and a revision has been made to include personal services to the conditional notes. The intended use of the building after rezoning will be for a specialized pediatric physical therapy office. Staff does recommend approval of this petition. The petition is inconsistent with the 2040 policy map recommendation. However, the petition proposes reusing an existing home as a small medical office, which helps keep the character of the neighborhood while allowing a different type of use. Although the 2040 policy map recommends the Neighborhood 2 place type, which is intended to accommodate moderate to intense residential development, the site is located on an arterial street near other commercial and institutional uses that support the neighborhood center place type uses and character. I will take any questions you might have.
Thank you very much, Emma. Questions, comments?
I have one.
Commissioner McDonald, please.
The personal services, where is that added and how is, I was just curious what that means.
So personal services establishments, it's similar to what you'd see like in a neighborhood commercial establishment. So something like a nail salon, for example, a hair salon. It's just, we just needed flexibility on the site. The petitioner would like future flexibility, you know, in the case that a physical therapy office were no longer viable for the structure, they wanted that use option of personal services establishment, which is a very compatible use for a neighborhood center, as well as abutting directly against residential areas. But it would still condition an adaptive reuse of the existing structure.
Okay, so just another permitted use other than what they're.
Correct, yeah, it was so they would be able to, like Holly said, use the space for more than just the intended medical office. In the future, if 10 years down the line, they want to be a nail salon.
Gotcha, thank you.
As a follow-up quickly to that, why neighborhood center as opposed to more of a commercial general? Right, which in theory would allow for the same uses, right?
Right, but general commercial would not be an appropriate, and sorry, I think our audio went out for a second on the feed, but the question was why neighborhood center rather than a general commercial zoning district? The general commercial zoning district would not be appropriate here, just in terms of the broad range of uses that could be permitted. It's really intended to be quite auto-centric in the general commercial district. And given where this is, you know, its proximity to the plaza, it's nestling within residential areas, the neighborhood center zoning district, as well as the corresponding place type, are much more contextually appropriate for, well, and it fits what they need, first of all, but it's much more contextually appropriate given what is in the area where we see it going, and that wouldn't meet the criteria that we would need if it were going to a general commercial zoning district and subsequent place type.
Thank you very much, Holly. I also think that it helps set a positive precedent for the rest of 36th Street. Motion, please.
Motion, Sealy, since this is my neighborhood. Having reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve this petition, I move that we recommend approval of petition number 2025-002, as well as the adoption of the associated consistency statement as they both appear right up there.
Shaw, second.
No Sealy Neely. Motion by Sealy, second by Shaw. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Do we need a motion for recusal? Remind me.
Yes.
Okay. We do have a commissioner that needs to recuse themselves. Motion for Commissioner Shaw to recuse herself in this next petition. All right.
Second.
A second motion by me, second by Neely. See you later. We shall. Wait for that door to close in case she's listening. All right. Item number 7, petition 2025-006 by Beacon RCP LLC with Joe, please.
Thanks. This site is approximately 94.5 acres located on the west side of Ryan Road, south of Mount Holly Road, and north of Bellmead Drive. It is wooded and undeveloped. Current zoning is I1 CD. Proposed zoning is ML1 CD. And just, we pause there for just on that, well, actually that works as well. The 2040 policy map recommends manufacturing logistics place type. And I just wanted to point out that this site, it was part of a larger rezoning in 2021 that included an additional 52 acres, which is the southeastern corner of that area you see in ML. So this is a portion of that previous rezoning. This petition would allow for 1.27 million square feet of gross floor area of warehousing, warehouse distribution, manufacturing, office, and other primary and accessory uses permitted in ML1. Would prohibit a long list of more noxious ML uses. It confirms that transportation commitments under the 2021-284 petition have been completed. Provides a minimum 100-foot Class A landscape yard along the western property boundary. Commits to dedication of 3 acres to County Park and Rec for a future neighborhood park, as well as dedication of a minimum 90-foot wide trail easement along the western property boundary for a future Mecklenburg County trail. And confirms that the development have 0-foot candles at the property lines of adjacent single-family zoning. Staff recommends approval of petition. The one outstanding issue was a tree survey that had not been completed. We just got that yesterday. So that resolves the lone outstanding issue. The petition is consistent with M&L place type, and I will take any questions.
Thank you, Jeremy. Questions, comments, acknowledgements? All right. I think this is a very well thought out plan. Happy to entertain a motion on this one, guys.
Motion to approve, Sealy. Having reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve this petition, I move that we recommend approval of petition number, oh God, where'd it go?
2025-006.
Thank you. 2025-006, as well as the adoption of the associated consistency statement as they appear before us.
Second, McDonald.
Motion by Sealy, second by McDonald. All in favor?
Aye.
A 6-0 unanimous approval on this one. And give me 1 second. Are you already good?
It's like, congratulations.
He left her.
All right, for our last petition of the evening, who's bringing us home tonight? Stewart, 2025-022 by Bill Scantlin, please.
Petition 2025-022 is approximately 5.8 acres located east of EWT Harris Boulevard and north of Harris Park Boulevard. The site is currently vacant with a multifamily development to the north and wooded vacant lot to the south. The current zoning is R20 MFCD multifamily residential conditional. The proposed zoning is N2B CD neighborhood 2B conditional. The 2040 policy map recommends the neighborhood 2 place type for the site. The site may be developed with up to 60 multifamily stacked dwelling units under the N2B zoning district. The site may be developed with a clubhouse and as an accessory use to the residential dwellings. The petitioner will provide access to the site by extending Delta Landing Road. The petitioner will install a 10-foot wide Class B landscape yard along the northern, western, and southern boundaries of the site. And the petitioner will provide an 8-foot planting strip and 8-foot sidewalks along all existing streets. There have been changes since public hearing. The petitioner has reserved all units at or below 60% AMI for 30 years, and the petitioner has committed to install a 12-foot multi-use path along EWT Harris Boulevard. Staff does recommend approval of this petition upon the resolution of outstanding issues related to the environment, as well as some requested technical revisions related to site and building design. The petition is consistent with the 2040 policy map recommendation for neighborhood 2. The petition site is currently part of a conditional rezoning that does entitle the site to a multifamily stack development. The site is well connected to public transit with CATS bus stops nearby, providing access to other parts of the city without needing a car. The access to public transit is consistent with the character of the neighborhood 2 place type. As I mentioned earlier, all units will be reserved at or below 60% of the area median income for at least 30 years. And the petition could facilitate goal 3 and 6 of the 2040 comprehensive plan goals. I'll be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Stewart. Questions around this one, guys? Anybody? I just have one. This is essentially the access is coming from the existing public road, Delta Landing Road, correct?
That is correct.
And I guess I'm just curious, there is another parcel between this and East WT Harris. Is there a reason we're not asking them to do more to kind of leave a more natural connection from, let's call it the T in this site plan, to come through for additional connectivity for whoever develops the site in between?
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, so that the property to the south is actually owned by Park and Rec.
Okay.
And so it's their intentions to build a neighborhood park
Oh, I
to the
see.
south of the site.
Cool. Well, dumb question. Thanks for the clarity.
Um,
Commissioner McDonald.
Can you go back to the side, that, I guess. Is there pedestrian access to Harris Boulevard?
No, so just by nature of the ordinance, because they have frontage along EWT Harris Boulevard, they would have to install the 12-foot multi-use path. However, as you mentioned, there will not be access to the path. It's just going to be to meet the requirements of the ordinance.
And then, this is facetious possibly, but is that the first stretch of multi-use path along WT Harris? I'm
I-
not familiar that there's
Got to be another one.
It will not connect to
No.
another path at that
No.
specific location.
Yeah, just, I drive WT Harris a lot. It has no sidewalks, no bike lanes, no nothing anywhere.
So this would help.
So this
kickstart-
might be one of the first pieces.
Got to
Okay,
start somewhere.
yeah, that was it. Gratuitous,
I got
sorry.
a story for you.
All right. Any other feedback on this one? If not, happy to entertain a motion.
Motion to approve McDonald? Having reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve this petition, I move that we recommend approval of petition number 2025-022 as it appears before us and the adoption of the consistency statement.
Shaw, second.
Motion by McDonald, second by Shaw, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Because these guys have started collecting their name tags, I'm gonna talk for the next half hour. I can do it.
Look out on you.
It's only 6:29, guys. I don't know. No, thank you guys, everyone, for your time. We'll get out of here. See you in a month. Yeah.